Hello, everyone. My name is Gamer Boss Plays. And 8 years ago today, I created my YouTube channel, this YouTube channel. Woo! Except that actually was yesterday, and today is August 30th, 2023. When actually my 8-year anniversary was August 29th, 2023, because I created my YouTube channel on August 29th, 2015, 8 years ago. It has now been 8 years later, and one day I was late for the first time ever. I'm sorry, you can sue me, I'll get you a lawyer, I'll find one, and we'll figure this out in court, okay? Anyway, hi guys. Oh my gosh, it's been a long time since I've been in front of the camera, as apparent by the 2 uploads this year. Oh my goodness, but I'm not missing out on this opportunity for this. I gotta update y'all. I got things to tell you, and boy oh boy, do I have come to you guys excited and with some good plans. So, first and foremost, to anybody who's watching, goodness gracious, thank you for watching. The fact that you are here today watching me still is amazing. Thank you for being here. Despite the fact that it's basically been, my channel's finally just like, all right, I'm not really doing stuff. But thank you guys still for watching the stuff I have made, even though it's only been a couple things. Like, still getting 400 to 500 views on some of these videos is insane to me. And the way that you guys leave comments and are still supportive, and I still get stuff to this day, even on the Supersonic stuff, is so amazing. And I genuinely appreciate that, because it's a time that I look on very fondly, and it's just so cool to see how people still interact with that, and how all the viewers still come across, like the movie I made a few months back, and the impact that had on some people, and just, it's been amazing. But it's been a good year. Well, it's been a rough year, but it's getting good. It's getting good. We're in a good spot now, and I'd just like to talk to you guys in general. I'd also like to preface this as, yes, this video is just going to be me talking again. I know every year I've always said, like, I'll probably edit it, but I will let you guys know I have a video in the works, and it was what 8 years ago today was going to be. Unfortunately, the last couple weeks got a bit busy trying to get accustomed to school, because now I'm a senior in high school, and I'm also 16. I'm a year younger than everybody else, and yet I still look like a 26-year-old, stoned hippie that's laying on the streets of New York, Living the best life. Doesn't help that I'm wearing this shirt. It's actually, sorry, this is a side tangent. It's actually my fourth period English teacher's old band that he was in. Really freaking cool. And I just think it's funny, so I have this shirt. Anyway, point is, I know there hasn't been much, and I'd just like to update you guys, give you a bit more of contextualization as to where I've been, again, but in a sense of, there's actual stuff for you now. I have context. I have a little journey to give you guys, and there will be a lot more in-depth of that going into a new project I'm currently writing a script for. That would have been this video if I just didn't get so busy, but it will be out in the next month, and I'm very excited to bring it all to you. Simply put, y'all, it's been a crazy year. And I think that it's a year that's a lot different than other years, because it is the year that I finally had to grow up. And in a way, of course, every year you got to grow up in some way, shape, or form. But I think this last year was especially integral to building me up as a person. I think God really brought in so many people and opportunities and just events in my life that I think have truly just grown me so much as a person, and I'm just excited to see where all this new knowledge takes me. And I'd like to, I guess, just clue you in on some of it. For context, I know a lot of you guys may have seen my movie that I released 5 months ago, and that's about all the context you're going to get from me, because the only other video I did was a J-Slap parody, and that was filmed over a year ago. So the only thing I've released, I have made one other thing that I just didn't release. Sorry, I'll get it out to you guys in the next week or something. But the only thing I really made was that movie, and that's probably all you guys got from me. And I'd like to just give you guys some more context on this year, if you would have me. Sorry for the long intro. These videos are unedited, and I hope you have me in this podcast, I guess. Call it the yearly podcast. Simply put, last year, if you guys watched 7 years ago today, you would know that I had quite a difficult sophomore year, as I had talked about I'd gone into it pretty optimistic for the most part, but I had just gotten out of COVID year, the year before, and all in freshman year, and then sophomore year was like, all right, here we go with this. And then after sophomore year, after getting through that, which as established in that video, in the 7 years ago today video, was a difficult year when it came to IRL friends moving away, and just basically the people who I'd grown up with my whole life were now no longer there, and having to adapt that. That was a big part of my life, and funny enough, that's also when I had got my hair cut, and I have not cut my hair since then. Going on nearly 25 months, people. Sorry. But in my 7 years ago today video, there was something I said in it, because I rewatched it a few weeks ago, for the first time since I filmed it, where I said, I think this is going to be the year where finally I begin to initiate things. It's going to be the year where things finally change to where I'm going to stop living in the past like I've constantly been doing over the last year, because I was mourning the loss of my friends who had moved away, and this is going to be the year where things finally change. Alas, it got a little crazy. Funny enough, 3 days later, my bestest friend and kind of mentor at the time found out that she was moving away to across the country. Had no idea. There have been some contextualized jokes at the time, but that was showing my way. One moment, my mother walked in. Okay, I actually got to switch into the other room just like last year. But there's my dog, because everybody needs an update on my dog every year. There she is. I'm not trying to show you. Just trying to show my dog. There she is. She's still alive and well. She just turned 13 now. Look at you old fart. Still as young as a freaking salamander that was just born. Pretty young salamander. Okay, there's my room. But we're not going in there today. I'm actually going to take you guys to a room I haven't really taken you into before in any of these videos. My garage! This is my garage. Look at this. That's where I play guitar nowadays. Let me see if I can set up the camera. I think I'm gonna go with I'm gonna go with right here. Sorry, 1 second. This is really cute, eh? It's kind of on an incline, so it's gonna look like I'm falling over the rest of the video, I guess. But hello, welcome to my garage. Lights are on. Can these lights come on? No. Hello? Hi, Dad. Oh, okay. Chalky milk. As I was saying. So September, my best friend and mentor basically moved across the country, and it was also around that time that my grandmother got diagnosed with cancer. And that was the first time that I was like, ooh, this isn't just somebody's a little sick. This is a genuine illness. This was their third time having to battle with cancer in her life. And this was the time that she was the least fitted to deal with it. And it was also then when I started to get into the swing of junior year, it stopped being chapter 0 and went to chapter 1, and all the work was doubled. And it got real very quickly. And it was also then that I decided to join drama. And when I joined drama, I also decided, you know what? Let's, 1 week after joining drama and being on stage twice and the teacher liking me, let's audition for a play and not realize how much of a freaking commitment a play is, while also interning at a job. To put it into perspective, September and October were this. I would wake up every day at about 6 a.m. in the morning. I'd get ready for school. I'd get to school, and then I'm there for 7 hours in an incredibly overwhelming and overstimulating environment of people who I'm terrified are going to judge every single thought and decision and thing that I do. Then, as soon as I survive my high school, I have to ride straight down to work so that literally less than 30 minutes after I'm done with school, I have to start working. And then I'm doing that for about 2 to 3 hours because I was just doing an interning job. But then the moment that that is done, I have to ride my bike back to the school, which, mind you, I am going to be late almost every single time because I have to leave right on the dot. I get to rehearsals. I'm there for 3 hours every single day. And then by 9:30, I finally am getting home. Half the time still having to ride my bike. And then I eat dinner, and then I go into my parents' room, ask about my grandma,
find out that something's gotten worse, bawl my eyes out, and then by that time it's 10:30 p.m. I still have homework to do, and I need to go to bed. That was 2 months. And I think that that time period was the first time I experienced being overworked and overproductive. It was an incredibly overwhelming time, and I was terrified at the prospect of losing a loved one for the first time. And unfortunately, once it came to the conclusion that cancer treatment just wasn't really working, and it slowly made its way from just one part of her body all the way through the whole thing, even to her brain, to where, sadly, the best way I could put it, she speed ran Alzheimer's and inevitably lost her life in November. I had the first funeral I'd ever been at 2 weeks later, and that was probably the hardest thing I had experienced at that point of my life. I didn't stop mourning for a couple months and through December, and at that point I did decide to take a break off of work about halfway through doing the play, and I wouldn't get back into work until the very, very start of January. When January rolled around, I was going into the new year cautious, but I had some wonderful experiences and times with some friends. Towards the end of December, it was Christmas time, we had a break, and I was being able to work on the assignments that I was behind on, and things were slowly getting back on track. Then I started work, and to put it simply, the people meant to train me did not train me, and the workers who were meant to help me along were doing the opposite. And I very quickly came to the conclusion, after trying to say something and getting written up, that I have to teach myself, for the most part, how to do this job. And not only that, in the time that I started teaching myself how to do this job, workers were starting to call out very often, to the point where there was never a week where there weren't at least 2 workers out for practically the whole week. What did that mean? I got a few more shifts. I got about 4 shifts every week within the first month, which is great, until it's not as great. Because unfortunately, it didn't stay just 3 to 4. It would go to 4 to 5, and then at some points 6 in the coming months. And when does that translate? To February, which you might resonate with a time very right before I made my movie, which is all the context you guys have had about me, where I came home after having an event at my workplace. And this event was fantastic. We were having a movie night, and I had just gotten into one of my new favorite directors, Wes Anderson, and I had just seen his film Fantastic Mr. Fox, which was an absolute delight for me, and was a very therapeutic movie through this very stressful time. And inevitably, 2 of my workers, who are very close friends, who I very dearly appreciate, just so happened to put on the event, and they chose that movie. And so we all banded together, and we were like, this is going to be so wonderful. We made a specialty drink for Bean's Secret Cider, and then me and my mom, we worked together to make the ginger nutmeg apple snaps from the movie. And people came to the event. They came for seconds. People were loving it. People were laughing. Some people hadn't seen the movie before, and I had good friends who I got to talk to about the film after, which, as a guy who wants to be a filmmaker, getting to discuss with people these films that I love was so exciting, and seeing the community of it. And just in general, it was one of the coolest work shifts of my life. And I remember talking to my mom in the car and being so ecstatic about just everything going on. I just couldn't stop rambling and rambling. I was so excited, and I got this message on my phone from an old friend who I hadn't spoken to in a long time, and I was starting to look through it. It was in a group chat, and I was like, I'll probably read this, but I'll do it when I get home. And my mom was saying, hey, make sure to turn your screen off. It's too bright, because it was dark out at that point. But I was like, all right, whatever. And I kept telling my mom, just raving about how cool of a work day it was, and how I think things are on the rise. And I was feeling a lot better at the time. I felt like I was finally getting into a point where work was becoming sustainable. I was finally getting in the groove of how to actually do this job, and the anger and the initial frustration was starting to drift away, and school was slowly but surely getting back into schedule, and I was finding my place. And then finally I walk out of the car as soon as we get home, and it's as if it's a video game transition. It's a complete juxtaposition. You would think it's straight out of a film, but it's not. I walk out, and it is my close friend and his whole family, and they say, hey Gabe, let's go inside. it would be 5 minutes later that I found out my best friend, who in my film, Isaac, had took his own life. To put it simply, it is very, very different to lose somebody over a brief course of time compared to sudden. It's very different to, I think, lose a grandparent who you know you'll inevitably have to lose compared to a friend who never made it to his adult years. And to somebody who I had spent the last year and a half before he moved absolutely adoring every second of. He was one of the most respectful people I knew, and genuinely, in every person that he met, he made an impact, and is one of the biggest inspirations to my life and the ways in which I intend to live. And man, I forever am in admiration of that kid. But finding out that news completely tore apart all that I had been recovering from. I still wasn't over the grief of my grandmother at the time. It had just been 3 months after, and grief is not a quick process, I've come to understand. And to put it simply, it would be the next 2 months that is probably the hardest months of my life. I thought the play was hard, but this was another level. Social interactions were strained. When it came to stuff at my church, it was very sad environment. It was one that we all came together, but it was in such a place of grief, and we all were healing from it slowly but surely, but just as quickly as we came together in grief, we all disbanded as if it never happened. And for me, it felt very isolating. Some of my closest friends, they were going through it really hard, and unfortunately, you would think hopefully it would bring us together, but some of them, it did actually push them away for a time. It was a very lonely experience. And my other best friend, who I could consistently reach out to, who you guys saw in the movie, Kaya, was sometimes out on a trip and not available, and it was a really lonely, lonely time. Not to mention work grew from 2 people being out a week to 3 to 4 to even on spring break 5, which meant I didn't get a spring break. I worked every day while still doing school, and it got so overwhelming to the point where, to put it simply, in March, I was 12 assignments behind in school despite my best efforts. I was in deep mourning, and I didn't have a social circle at the high school, and it was the most overwhelming experience ever, trying to contain myself every day for 7 hours when there's so many people, and I don't do well in that environment. Having a church that I felt super disconnected from, despite the fact that we all had initially came together, and basically feeling as if the world was falling apart around me. It didn't feel like anything I was doing was helping. And it was in that moment that I was ready to also give up. However, there's a guy named Joel Haver. And Joel Haver does something every year on his channel. He's a YouTuber. He does short film and feature film, no budget, no script, improvisation type of stuff, and it's fantastic. He does something every year called, instead of watching the Oscars, make a movie, where instead of watching billionaires pet other billionaires on the back, you spend the 3-hour film hour time frame of the Oscars filming. And then after that, you have 1 week to edit that into a 40-minute feature-length film. And that was the movie you guys saw, Compliant Perplexity. Also the song that is in that movie, which I think is what a lot of what the film is about, I also had made in the time of grieving for a talent show that I had performed at my church for a fundraising event we were doing for an event I was at in July, and I performed guitar, and I sang in front of people for the first time, 100 people, as a tribute in a way to Isaac, because a year and a half before he had shredded master puppets at a little Christmas party we had, and I wanted to commemorate that. That was a cool experience. I only voice cracked once, but then I still came back even though I was in tears. After that, I was like, you know what, I can do it. Youth pastor whispered in my ear, I was like, you got this. Crowd was clapping, I was like, all right. And then I did it again and nailed the high notes, and it worked out. So if you want to know what that song is and you don't know all that stuff, it's in the movie. The best thing I've made so far. Anyway, quick chocolate milk break. We're sponsored by probably BetterHelp, online therapy. That's the second time I dabbed. Sorry guys, this teacher who I talked about, he's so millennial, and he does that. He dabs occasionally, and I'm broken now because of it. Anywho, my point is, it's a difficult time, but this movie, I think in some ways, saved my life. It was done at a perfect time where I finally said, I can't do this. I can't refrain from doing creative projects because of everything that's going on. I told my parents and I told my friends, I said, I don't care anymore. I have to make this movie. I need to make this movie. And I didn't know what the film was yet. I didn't know what it was going to be. I didn't know what it was when I was filming. I didn't know what it was until I was editing, until the last 5 minutes of editing, when I concluded, this is what the film's about. And I think what's so beautiful about it is having now upwards of 50 people that I've met in person, and plenty through comments and online, who have told me how much they love the film and how wonderfully it impacted them and touched them. The amount of people who came to me in tears, or telling me that they were in tears over the film and how it touched them, means the world to me. And if you saw the film, thank you for watching it, and I hope it made some kind of impact for you. April rolls around, and the movie had kind of helped me through this time. In April, while work was still insane, I was slowly beginning to put my focus back to getting caught up in school, and that would continue through to May, and I was slowly getting through a lot of that initial grief that I was going through again. And it's not to mention as well, in the movie at the end it says for Isaac and Tommy, and that's because another friend of mine had also taken his own life. Not as close of friends, but 1 month after, during the editing of that video. Put it simply, I lost 3 people I love this last year. And I guess the reason I say all that is, this year was not what I thought it was going to be. It was it was nothing like I had anticipated. I thought it was going to be my year, but as I went through May, I put a lot of focus on a video project that, it's a Choose Your Own Adventure I did for the yearbook DVD. If you guys see my carpool karaoke parody, it's another one of those types of videos, except 12 times better. And that I'll get out to you guys pretty soon. I've just been forgetting. And that ended up actually being a whole heap of trouble. I spent 36 hours awake straight, and I worked 2 shifts, and I edited the entire thing in one night, because that's how things rolled at the time. And complications. And then in June, when finals rolled around, and also in May, that was finals and tests and all these other stuff. And then in June, it wasn't until the beginning of June, on June 5th, when I finally submitted my last assignment and got to take a breath, and it actually felt like fresh air. Why am I saying this? Because this year was not what I thought it was going to be. And I think that's how life tends to be. 7 years ago today, I really thought this next year is going to be a significant change. It's going to be the year where I finally make all of the projects I want. I'll be releasing monthly things. I'll be on the grind. I'm going to have a social circle. I'm going to be the initiator. I'm going to get everything in the place that I'd like it to be. It's going to be perfect. But that's the thing in life. It throws curveballs that you don't expect, and lessons your way that you don't anticipate that you need to learn. But sometimes they come at you, and there's nothing you can do but go through the trenches. And I learned a lot. Something I will say that I learned this past year was that I think most people have so much more capability than we give ourselves credit. And you have to understand that with Christ, you will have strength. Of course, not everybody believes in the Christian faith, but that's something I've truly held on to. And truthfully, the Bible and God has not failed me yet. And I truly don't think he will, because for 16 and a half years, he's kept me grounded and he's kept me good. In the worst moments of my life, he withheld me. He kept me strengthened. And it's because of him that I give the credit that I was able to get through this year. And I look at it and I say, despite the fact that all these dreams and expectations I had put on, I still did make a movie. I hadn't made a proper creative project until then. And since then, I have been creatively fueled a lot. And like I said, I'm working on a script right now for something that was going to be this video, and I can't wait to bring it to you guys. But if any of you have ever heard of the YouTube New Wave, you can count me in real soon. If you haven't heard of it, look it up. You won't regret it. And I just want to let you all know, and in a way, Gabe in the past, let you know, life's an unpredictable journey, but face it head on and expect the worst, but be hopeful for the best. And make sure to keep yourself certain that you're not sacrificing yourself completely in order to keep yourself okay. You're not a disease. Don't treat yourself like one. And keep your head high. And remember, there is so much beauty in this world. There's so many minute things that we tend to forget. Whether it's somebody walking down the street who has an entire story and a life of their own that they're living that we're completely unaware of. And whether it's, just watching a sunset, whether it's a wave crashing down in the Atlantic Ocean. That was pretty cool. I got to have that in July. Whether it's seeing the sun glare through some trees, and whether it could just be looking in the eyes of someone you love and getting a quick smile. Appreciate the little moments, because truthfully, while things come to pass, while events come to pass, the emotions won't necessarily just walk on through. They got a lot more walls that they have to pass, jump over, or break down. But that doesn't mean that they have to define you and completely destruct your success and ability to live. Life is valuable, and don't throw it away. Because everybody's going to have some form of grief that they go through. It's about how you take it, not about how you suffer with it. So where are we at now? Over the summer, I spent a lot of time reflecting. I spent a good month reflecting and trying to understand everything that's happened, everything I've kind of presented to you here. And I've gotten a lot of insight. I think there's so much now that I'm aware of that I had no idea I would be last year. I'm in a much stronger and healthier place. My confidence is much higher, and in so many ways, I feel like I finally have let the me of the past go and am accepting and excited for the future. While there is so much loss that I will continue to grapple with for the rest of my days and that I can't take back, if anything, I think it's what it's allowed me to grow the most. And learning and understanding that is so integral. And also knowing that it is all God, man. It's all God that gets you through. He challenges us, and it's up to us if we're going to be able to persist, if we choose to persist. And man, making the choice to is the best decision I've made this last year. So now I'm in my senior year. I have plans to make videos again. I don't want this channel to die. And by die, I don't mean viewership-wise, I mean be abandoned. I love this channel so very much. It's an integral part of my life, and I don't ever want to deny it that. And I have stories I want to tell. When I say I want to be a filmmaker, I truly mean it. I've done a lot of research in my downtime and put so much focus on psychology and perspective and understanding, and I just want to find the genuinity in a fabricated world, and I want to tell the stories that go unnoticed. And my hopes is in this video I keep mentioning to tell you maybe some of mine in a more cinematic way than this, and pretty soon tell the stories of some others. Thank you for those who stuck around with me this long and who will be here continually if you're willing to stick around. I'm excited to share life with whoever it is on the other side of the screen. And I hope you're doing well. May God bless you, and may your eyes be focused on Him. And not only that, may you be filled with joy, and choose joy, because there's always a good in every negative situation. And even if it's not initial, consequences are not strictly negative. It's a positive and a negative, and there's always going to be some kind of positive you can find. Search for it, hold on to it, don't ignore the negative, but be aware of the good. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you for listening to the Gabriel Silafant Year Ago Today podcast. And thanks for keeping on. Love you guys. Well, platonically, I guess, at best. And I will see you guys real soon. Peace.
Cut! Ha! It's cut. Oh. I think some sawdust fell in there.